My husband walked into the courtroom smiling, not nervous, not emotional, just smiling like he was attending a business meeting he had already won. He leaned slightly toward his lawyer and whispered something I couldn't hear. Then his eyes met mine for a second, and he smiled again. That was the moment I realized something. He wasn't afraid of losing me. He was confident I had already lost everything, but what he didn't know was, I wasn't here to beg. I was here with something he had completely forgotten about, and the judge was about to read it, but to understand why that moment mattered, I have to go back to where this all started. I met him when I was 24. His name was Daniel Carter. T that time. He wasn't rich. He wasn't powerful. He wasn't even stable. But he had something that made him feel like the future belonged to him, ambition. And when someone talks about their dreams with enough confidence, you start believing in them too. We were both working normal jobs back then. I was a junior financial assistant at a small accounting firm. He was trying to build a startup that didn't even have a proper office, just a rented room, 2 chairs, and a second-hand laptop. I still remember how excited he was the first time he showed me his idea. This is going to change everything, he said. I laughed a little, not because I didn't believe him, but because I liked seeing him believe in himself. We got married fast, maybe too fast, people warned me. My friends said he was unstable. My mother asked me if I was sure, but I wasn't thinking about stability. I was thinking about love and hope and the idea of building something together. So I said yes. At the beginning, it really felt like partnership. We shared everything: money, food, dreams, failures. When his startup couldn't pay rent, I covered it. When he couldn't afford software licenses, I used my savings. When he missed payroll for his first employee, I quietly transferred money from my account. He always said the same thing: one day, I'll make this up to you. And I believed him. Because when someone looks at you like you're their entire reason to keep going, you don't ask too many questions. But slowly, things started changing. Not suddenly. Not dramatically. Just small things. At first, he stopped sharing details about his work. Then he started staying late at meetings. Then he stopped asking me about my day and started answering my questions like they were interruptions. One night, I remember asking him if everything was okay. He didn't even look up from his phone. I'm just stressed, he said. That was it. No explanation. No comfort, just distance. A few months later, I noticed something else. He started guarding his laptop, turning it away when I entered the room, closing tabs quickly, changing passwords. I told myself it was normal. He was growing a company. He needed privacy, but deep down, something didn't feel right anymore. Then came the first real crack. A message popped up on his phone while he was in the shower. I wasn't trying to snoop. It was just there. The name on the screen was a woman's. I miss you already. I remember staring at it for a long time, trying to convince myself it meant nothing. Maybe a colleague, maybe a client, maybe something harmless, but my hands were shaking, and I knew something had already changed. That night, I didn't confront him. I couldn't, because I wasn't ready to hear an answer I didn't want. Instead, I just lay next to him in silence while he slept like nothing in the world had shifted, and I realized something terrifying. Sometimes betrayal doesn't start with a confession. It starts with silence. The next morning, he left early, didn't say goodbye properly, didn't kiss me, just grabbed his coat and walked out, and I stood there watching the door close, thinking, when exactly did I stop being part of his world? But even then, I didn't leave, because I still believed in the man he used to be, or maybe I was afraid of losing everything I had built with him. So I stayed, and that decision changed everything that came after, because I didn't know it yet. But my husband wasn't just growing distant, he was building a life that no longer included me, and the worst part, I was still paying for it, without even realizing it. And one day, I would find out the truth about everything. But by then, it would already be too late to stop what he had planned. I didn't confront him after that message. I told myself I would. But days passed, then weeks, and somehow, life kept moving like nothing was wrong. That's the strange thing about betrayal. It doesn't always explode in your face. Sometimes it slowly replaces your normal, until you don't even recognize what normal used to feel like. He started coming home later. Not once or twice, but almost every day. And every time I asked, he had the same answer. Investor meetings, team crisis, product launch stress. Simple words, but they started feeling rehearsed, like he had used them too many times. One evening, I finally decided to surprise him. I brought food to his office. He had told me he would be working late there, but when I arrived, the office was dark, locked, empty. The security guard looked confused when I asked for him. He hasn't been here today, the guard said. That was the first time I felt something inside me shift completely. Not suspicion, not doubt. Something heavier. Certainty starting to form. I went home slowly that night. My hands were cold. My mind was loud, and for the first time, I didn't cry. Because crying requires confusion. And I was starting to understand something I didn't want to accept. He wasn't just hiding work. He was hiding a life. That night, I checked his laptop while he was asleep. My heart was beating so hard I could hear it. I told myself I would stop if I found nothing. But I didn't find nothing. I found her. A name saved under a private folder, emails, messages, photos. Not just emotional messages, but plans, trips, hotel bookings, dinner reservations. A second life. Built carefully, quietly, while I was still paying his bills. My hands started shaking. But I didn't stop. Because there was something else, something worse. A shared document. Titled, Separation Strategy Confidential. I froze. I didn't open it immediately. I just stared at it. Because in that moment, I realized something terrifying. This wasn't an affair. This was preparation. When I finally opened it, my stomach dropped. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't impulsive. It was structured. Legal steps, financial planning, asset protection notes, even timelines. He had written everything like a business plan. Step 1. Secure intellectual property. Step 2. Gradually isolate shared financial visibility. Step 3. Prepare a narrative of independent success. Step 4. Initiate divorce under controlled conditions. And then, a final note at the bottom. Ensure minimal payout exposure. I sat there completely still, because suddenly, everything made sense. The late nights, the distance, the secrecy. Even the coldness. It wasn't confusion. It was design. But then I saw something that made my chest tighten even more. A list of names, investors, partners, and one name highlighted in red, his current girlfriend. Not just a relationship, but a financial connection. She wasn't just part of his personal life. She was part of his business strategy. I closed the laptop immediately and sat in the dark for a long time. Not crying, not moving, just thinking. How long had this been happening? Months? Years? Was anything we built actually real? Or had I just been a resource he slowly used up? The next morning, I acted normal. I made breakfast. I smiled when he came into the kitchen. He kissed my forehead like nothing had changed, and I realized something disturbing. He didn't feel guilty, because in his mind, this was already finished. He just hadn't told me yet. That was the day I started documenting everything. Not for revenge, not for anger, but because I finally understood something. If I didn't protect myself now, there would be nothing left to protect later. I started with bank statements, old transfers, hidden withdrawals, Receipts I had ignored before. Small things, then bigger things. Emails he had forgotten to delete, messages where he thanked me for covering expenses, promises he never meant to keep. And slowly, a timeline started forming. A truth he could no longer control. Then one night, I found something unexpected. A message from him. Sent years ago. To me. I don't know how to do this without you. You are the reason this is working. I stared at it for a long time, because that version of him still existed somewhere, but not anymore. And then came the call from my lawyer. Her voice was calm, but serious. Claire, if what you've gathered is accurate, she paused. This isn't just divorce territory anymore. I swallowed. What is it then? A longer pause. Then she said it. It's financial misconduct. My stomach dropped, because suddenly, this wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. This was about evidence, structure, law, and consequences. That was when I made my decision. I wasn't going to fight emotionally. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to prepare. Quietly. Completely. Carefully. Like he did. But better. Weeks passed. I built my file. Every email. Every transfer. Every document. Every memory turned into proof. And the more I collected, the clearer something became. He had underestimated me, completely. And then, the court date arrived. I remember standing in front of the mirror that morning. My hands were steady. For the first time in a long time. Not because I wasn't afraid, but because I finally understood something. This wasn't the day I lost him. This was the day he would finally hear everything he tried to erase. But when I entered the courtroom and saw him sitting there smiling, I realized something else. He still thought he had already won. My husband was smiling when I walked into the courtroom. Not nervous, not worried, smiling like everything had already been decided in his favor. His girlfriend sat behind him, perfectly composed, dressed like she belonged in his new life. She glanced at me once and then looked away like I was something already erased. I didn't react. I just sat down and waited, because this time, I wasn't here to be heard. I was here to be read. The judge entered. The room changed immediately. Not because of drama, but because everyone stopped moving. Even Owen stopped smiling for a second. Just a second. But I noticed. His lawyer stood first. Confident voice. Controlled tone. Your Honor, my client is the sole creator and financial driver of the company. The opposing party had no direct involvement in business operations or intellectual property creation. He said it like a final statement. Like a conclusion. Then he sat down and smiled. Owen leaned back in his chair, whispered something to his girlfriend. She smiled faintly. They looked comfortable, too comfortable, like people who believed the story was already written. Then the judge turned to my lawyer, Mrs. Hayes. Victoria didn't rush. She didn't argue. She simply placed a white envelope on the desk. This was prepared by my client. The judge looked at it, then at me. Did you prepare this yourself? I nodded. Yes, Your Honor. He opened it. And everything stopped. At first. The judge's face was neutral, just reading. Then slower. Then again. Then he paused. Went back. Read the same paragraph twice. That's when I saw it. The first shift. Not emotion. Recognition. Owen noticed too. His smile faded slightly. He leaned forward. Your Honor, his lawyer said quickly, but the judge didn't answer. He kept reading. The courtroom went silent, only paper moving. Page after page. My life. Printed. Structured. Dated. Documented. Then the judge spoke. Mrs. Carter. I looked up. Did you personally compile this timeline? Yes. And every entry is supported by financial records? Yes, Your Honor. He nodded slowly, then continued reading. March 2014. Personal savings transfer to company account, $45,000. Bank confirmation attached. August 2015. Mortgage payments fully covered by spouse while business revenue remained negative. January 2016. Health insurance premiums paid entirely by spouse. Each line landed heavier than the last, because this wasn't emotion. This was structure. Then the judge stopped, picked up another document, an email. He read it quietly first, then aloud. I don't know how I would survive this without you. Every step forward exists because of what you sacrifice for us. He looked up directly at Owen. Owen shifted. For the first time, uncomfortable. The judge continued. Another email. Once everything stabilizes, we'll share everything equally. I promise you that. Pause. Another one. You are the only reason this company is still alive. Double quote silence. No one moved. Even the girlfriend stopped smiling. Then the judge lifted a bank statement. Mr. Carter. Owen stood. Yes, Your Honor. The judge's tone changed slightly, not angry, but firm. You previously stated your company became independent after year 2. That's correct. The judge placed the document down. Then explain this. He turned it. A transfer. Large amount. Personal account to business account. Made during that same year. Owen frowned. I don't remember that specific transaction. The judge didn't react. He just looked at him. 30 minutes before payroll was processed, silence dropped again. His lawyer immediately stood. Your Honor, we need time to review. The judge raised a hand. No, just one word. And the lawyer sat down. The judge continued reading. More documents. More transfers. More payments, each one pointing in one direction. Me. Then he paused again. Longer this time. Opened a final folder. This includes email correspondence between both parties. He read one line, then stopped, looked up, and said something that changed the entire room. This suggests the plaintiff was not only a spouse, pause, but the primary financial stabilizer of the entire enterprise. Owen's face changed. Not anger, not defense. Something else. Fear. The judge closed the folder, folded his hands. Due to the volume and consistency of financial documentation, the court will not proceed with division today. He looked at both sides. Instead, I am ordering a full independent forensic audit of all assets, accounts, and intellectual property filings. The words landed like a hammer. Owen's lawyer stood again. This is highly irregular. The judge cut him off immediately. I've made my decision. Silence again. Owen sat down slowly. For the first time, he wasn't smiling.